The ultimatum. The massive Sundari warship descended through Earth's atmosphere with deliberate slowness, its hulking silhouette blocking out the sun over Geneva. The vessel's obsidian surface rippled with iridescent patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. Despite its enormous size, it made almost no sound as it settled onto the landing platform specially constructed for this historic meeting. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the edge of the platform, her posture perfect, face betraying nothing of the storm of emotions within. Behind her stood a small delegation of Earth's highest officials, each dressed in formal diplomatic attire. They represented a united Earth, something that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago, before the Sundari had been detected approaching our solar system. "Remember," Admiral Chen said quietly to her team without turning her head, "we show respect but not fear, no matter what happens." A seam appeared in the alien vessel's smooth hull, widening into a doorway from which emerged a ramp that extended to touch the platform. Light poured from the opening, silhouetting the figures that began to descend. The first to emerge was Sovereign Xalax of the Sundari Empire. Standing nearly 9 feet tall, his four-armed frame was draped in robes that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. His slate-gray skin had a metallic sheen, and his 3 eyes, positioned in a triangular formation on his face, swept over the human delegation with unmistakable disdain. Behind him followed 6 guards, each bearing energy weapons unlike anything publicly known to human technology. Sovereign Xalax. Admiral Chen stepped forward, bowing slightly at the waist. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome you to our world." The Sovereign regarded her with his central eye, the 2 others scanning the surroundings. When he spoke, his voice came through a translation device at his throat, deep and resonant. "Admiral Chen, your species has constructed an adequate landing facility. This shows some level of advancement." He paused, his upper arms crossing over his chest. "But adequate does not mean impressive." Chen maintained her diplomatic smile. "We've done our best with the technology available to us, Sovereign. Not all species develop at the same rate." Indeed. The Sovereign's mouth, a horizontal slit beneath his eyes, twisted in what might have been amusement. "That is precisely why I am here. The Sundari Empire has observed your civilization for some time. You have potential, but you are dangerously undisciplined. Your wars, your environmental damage, your chaotic governance, these cannot continue." Several members of the Earth delegation exchanged glances, but Admiral Chen remained composed. "We acknowledge our imperfections, Sovereign. All developing species face challenges. The time for challenges has ended," Xalax declared. "The Sundari Empire brings order to chaos. We have unified 47 solar systems under our governance. Earth will be the 48th. Now Chen allowed her expression to shift slightly, her eyebrows rising in practiced surprise. "I believe there may be a misunderstanding, Sovereign. We welcomed you for diplomatic relations, not annexation." Xalax's 3 eyes blinked in unison, a gesture the human intelligence analysts had identified as indicating mild surprise. "There is no misunderstanding, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. The Sundari Empire does not request, it declares." He gestured to the sky with one of his lower arms. "At this moment, 32 Sundari warships have positioned themselves throughout your solar system. Your primitive detection systems cannot see them, but they are there." The Earth delegation murmured among themselves, showing just the right amount of alarm, exactly as rehearsed. Admiral Chen stepped forward. "Sovereign Xalax, surely there's no need for threats. Humanity is peaceful. Humanity is chaotic." Xalax interrupted. "Your history is written in blood. You have nuclear weapons aimed at your own cities. Your nations compete rather than cooperate. The Sundari bring peace through order. And if we refuse this peace," Xalax's 3 eyes narrowed, "then we will impose it. Your cities will burn. Your governments will fall. And from the ashes, we will construct a proper Sundari province." He paused. But this need not be violent. Submit willingly, and your species will prosper under our guidance. Many of your freedoms can remain intact." Admiral Chen allowed her shoulders to slump slightly, projecting resignation. "We will need time to consult with all Earth nations. This is not a decision any single leader can make." "You have 30 Earth days," Salax declared. "When we return, we expect your unconditional surrender. Prepare your submission documents and disarm your military forces. Resistance will only bring suffering." With that, the sovereign turned and ascended the ramp back into his ship. His guards followed, their weapons never lowering. As the ramp retracted and the seam in the hull sealed itself, Admiral Chen and the Earth delegation maintained their positions, watching silently as the massive vessel rose into the sky with unnatural grace. Only when the Sundari ship had disappeared into the clouds did President Alvarez step forward to stand beside Admiral Chen. "Do you think they suspected anything?" he asked quietly. Chen shook her head. "No. They believe exactly what we want them to believe, that we're primitive, divided, and terrified. And their claim about having 32 ships in our system." A small smile crossed Chen's face. "There are 29. Our quantum sensors detected them all. They're impressive vessels, but their cloaking technology isn't as advanced as they believe." The delegation moved toward the waiting transport vehicles, their formal expressions melting into focused determination once they were out of view of any potential observation. "Activate Prometheus Protocol," Admiral Chen said into her wrist communicator. "Authorization Chen Alpha 7 Prometheus." "Acknowledged," came the response. "Prometheus Protocol initiated. All facilities transitioning to full operational status." President Alvarez glanced at Chen. 30 days isn't much time." "It's more than enough," Chen replied confidently. "We've been preparing for this moment for 15 years, ever since the Hayden Observatory picked up their communications, and we learned what the Sundari Empire does to primitive worlds." The transport vehicles took them to a nondescript government building in the heart of Geneva. Once inside, they descended in a high-security elevator that required 3 separate biometric confirmations. When the doors opened, they revealed a massive underground command center humming with activity. Hundreds of personnel worked at advanced computer terminals. Holographic displays showed real-time tracking of the Sundari vessels throughout the solar system. One large central screen displayed a countdown: 29 days, 23 hours, 42 minutes until the Sundari returned. General Wei approached as they entered. "Admiral, the Prometheus fleet is awakening on schedule. The first wave of ships will be fully operational within 72 hours." Admiral Chen nodded, her eyes on the massive holographic display showing the positions of hidden human installations throughout the solar system and beyond. "And our intelligence assets?" she asked. "Still undetected," General Wei confirmed. "The Sundari have no idea we've been monitoring their communications for over a decade. They believe their encryption is unbreakable." President Alvarez studied the holographic display, his expression grave. "Will it be enough? The Prometheus fleet against their warships." Admiral Chen's expression hardened with determination. "Mr. President, the Sundari think they're dealing with a primitive species that barely managed to reach its own moon. They have no idea what humanity is truly capable of when unified by a common threat." She gestured to another display, showing a massive shipyard hidden within the asteroid belt. There, partially visible, hung a colossal vessel unlike anything ever built by human hands, at least as far as the public knew. "The Sundari Empire has conquered 47 worlds, yes, but every one of those species was alone when the Sundari came. None of them had advance warning. None of them had 15 years to prepare." Her eyes gleamed with fierce pride. "And none of them were human." The command center continued its work around them, a perfectly orchestrated symphony of humanity's best and brightest, working in secret to protect Earth from an enemy that had never known defeat. General Wei brought up another holographic display showing the schematics of Earth's defensive systems, technology that the Sundari would consider impossible for humans to possess. The quantum shield network is at 97% capacity, he reported. The orbital defense platforms remain in standby mode, completely invisible to Sundari scans. And the Prometheus fleet? President Alvarez asked. Admiral Chen's smile was cold. 200 vessels, Mr. President, the most advanced warships ever constructed by human hands, each one capable of taking on multiple Sundari cruisers, hidden in plain sight, General Wei added. Disguised as mining operations, research stations, or simply concealed within the asteroid belt and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. President Alvarez shook his head in amazement. To think we managed to build all this without the public knowing. It was necessary, Admiral Chen said firmly. Mass panic would have been inevitable if people knew an aggressive alien empire was heading our way, and secrecy was our only advantage. The Sundari are watching our broadcasts, studying our internet. They think they know everything about us. She turned to face the president fully. For 15 years, every nation on Earth has contributed to the Prometheus project. Scientists, engineers, resources, all working together in absolute secrecy while maintaining the appearance of business as usual. It's the greatest cooperative achievement in human history. On the main screen, the Sundari flagship had rejoined its fleet behind the moon, their positions marked by glowing red indicators on the holographic display. They're confident, General Wei observed. Look at their formation, minimal defensive positioning. Because they don't expect resistance, Admiral Chen replied. They believe their technology is vastly superior to ours. They've seen our public space programs, our commercial satellites, our international conflicts. The greatest deception in history, President Alvarez murmured. Admiral Chen nodded. The old magic trick. Let them wash the right hand while the left does the work. She turned to address the command center staff, raising her voice. For 15 years, we've prepared for this moment. The Sundari Empire thinks they're coming to collect an easy conquest. In 30 days, they'll discover how wrong they are. Throughout the solar system, humanity's secret defenses continued to awaken. In underground facilities on Earth, on hidden bases on the Moon and Mars, in stealth shipyards throughout the asteroid belt, and in secret stations orbiting the outer planets, men and women worked with quiet determination. The countdown continued. 29 days until the Sundari returned, expecting submission. 29 days until humanity revealed its true strength. Humanity unleashed. Exactly 30 days after their ultimatum, the Sundari returned. This time, they didn't send a single diplomatic vessel. The skies over every major Earth city darkened as enormous warships positioned themselves in low orbit. Their obsidian hulls reflected distorted images of the cities below, like massive mirrors showing a dark alternate reality. The Sundari flagship, twice the size of any other vessel in their fleet, took position directly above Geneva. Its weapon systems were visibly powered, glowing with ominous purple energy that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. In the underground command center, Admiral Chen stood calmly before the holographic display, showing the positions of every Sundari vessel. 53 warships had entered Earth's atmosphere, while another 20 remained in higher orbits, presumably as reinforcements. Right on schedule, she noted, checking her watch. And they've brought friends. General Wei nodded. They've committed nearly half their fleet to this operation, just as our intelligence predicted. President Alvarez entered the command center, followed by the United Earth Defense Council. Over the past month, they had maintained the illusion of frantic diplomatic negotiations among Earth's nations, all broadcast on channels they knew the Sundari were monitoring. "Are we ready, Admiral?" the President asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. Admiral Chen nodded once. Prometheus fleet at 100% operational status. All defense systems online. Quantum shields ready for activation. She turned to face him fully. Humanity is ready, Mr. President. The main screen flickered as an incoming transmission was detected. They're hailing us, reported Communications Officer Rodriguez. On screen, ordered President Alvarez. The holographic display shifted to show Sovereign Salax, his three eyes gleaming with anticipation. Behind him stood several high-ranking Sundari officials, their postures radiating confidence. People of Earth, the Sovereign began without preamble. Your time has expired. Present your submission documents immediately. Resistance will result in immediate demonstration of our power. President Alvarez stepped forward, his expression carefully crafted to show reluctant acceptance. Sovereign Salax, Earth has prepared the documents as requested. We ask only for assurances that civilian populations will be protected during the transition. Salax's mouth twisted in what passed for a Sundari smile. Wise decision, President Alvarez. Civilian casualties are inefficient and unnecessary when submission is offered freely. Prepare to receive our representatives who will oversee the disarmament of your military forces. Admiral Chen moved into view of the transmission. Before we proceed, Sovereign, perhaps you would indulge a question. The Sovereign's three eyes focused on her with obvious impatience. Speak quickly, Admiral. I'm curious. Have you ever encountered a species that successfully resisted the Sundari Empire? Salax's upper arms crossed over his chest in a gesture of dismissal. None have been foolish enough to try, once they witnessed our power. Admiral Chen smiled. A genuine smile now, not the diplomatic mask she had worn during their first meeting. Then allow me to introduce you to humanity. She nodded to General Wei, who pressed a sequence of commands on his console. Throughout the command center, officers activated their stations in perfect synchronization. Prometheus Protocol. Final phase, Admiral Chen announced clearly. Authorization. Chen Omega Phoenix Rise. Across the solar system, hidden installations awakened fully. On Earth, in the oceans, on the Moon, throughout the asteroid belt, and beyond the orbit of Neptune, humanity's true defenses revealed themselves. On the holographic display, Sovereign Salax's confusion was evident as alerts began sounding off-screen. His three eyes widened as reports flooded in from his fleet. What trickery is this? He demanded, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech. Our sensors detect new energy signatures. Impossible. Not trickery, Sovereign. Admiral Chen replied calmly. Just proper preparation. You see, we've known about the Sundari Empire for 15 years. We intercepted your transmissions, decoded your languages, studied your tactics. She paused, letting the implications sink in. While you watched our public space programs and political squabbles, we were building something else entirely. Throughout Earth's atmosphere and beyond, space seemed to ripple and distort as hundreds of advanced human vessels deactivated their quantum camouflage systems. Where moments before there had been empty space, now hum warships of gleaming titanium alloy, their designs unlike anything in the Sundari fleet. They were smaller than the Sundari vessels, but far more numerous, positioning themselves with precision around the alien fleet. Impossible, Salax whispered, his confidence visibly crumbling. Your species lacks the technology for quantum camouflage. Our intelligence confirmed. Your intelligence saw exactly what we wanted you to see, interrupted Admiral Chen. Humanity united 15 years ago, when we discovered the true nature of the Sundari Empire. Every nation, every resource, working in secret while maintaining the illusion of division. On the screen, alarms continued to sound on the Sundari flagship as more reports flooded in. One of Salax's officers approached, speaking urgently in their native language. 217 warships. Salax exclaimed, no longer addressing the humans but responding to his officer's report. That cannot be accurate. 234, actually, corrected Admiral Chen, plus support vessels and defense platforms. The Prometheus fleet, named after a human myth, a titan who gave fire to humanity against the wishes of the gods. She smiled. We've always had a rebellious streak. Sovereign Salax recovered some of his composure, his three eyes narrowing. Impressive deception, Admiral. But numbers alone do not determine victory. Sundari technology remains superior. Our weapons can reduce your cities to ash within minutes. Perhaps, President Alvarez interjected, but not before our fleet destroys yours. Is mutual destruction what you came for, Sovereign? Before Galactic could respond, another of his officers rushed into view, speaking rapidly in their clicking language. The Sovereign's expression shifted from confidence to shock. What do you mean our weapons aren't responding? He demanded in his own language, momentarily forgetting the translation. Admiral Chen allowed herself a small smile. Ah, you've discovered our quantum interference field. Ingenious technology, developed specifically to counter Sundari weapon systems. You see, we didn't just build ships. We studied every aspect of your technology. Your weaknesses, your blind spots. On screens throughout the command center, the Prometheus fleet continued its perfect formation, surrounding each Sundari vessel. Some of Earth's ships were now visible from the ground, their hulls catching sunlight as they positioned themselves protectively above major cities. General Wei approached Admiral Chen, keeping his voice low. Quantum shields at full capacity. All Prometheus vessels report ready status. Chen nodded before addressing Galactic again. Sovereign, I recommend you look more closely at our vessels, particularly their design specifications. The holographic display split to show a detailed schematic of the lead human vessel, the UNES Prometheus. Its weapon systems were highlighted, specifications scrolling beside the image. Galactic's three eyes widened as he read the data. This cannot be. These energy outputs exceed even our most advanced dreadnoughts. Humanity has always been resourceful, Admiral Chen replied. When properly motivated, there's nothing we cannot achieve. Your empire has conquered 47 worlds, yes, but you've never faced humanity before. A tense silence fell over both command centers. Throughout Earth's atmosphere, the two fleets remained in their positions, the Sundari warships now effectively surrounded by the more numerous human vessels. Finally, Sovereign Galactic spoke, his voice noticeably less confident. What are your terms, Admiral? Immediate withdrawal of all Sundari forces from the Sol system. President Alvarez answered firmly. Recognition of Earth and all its colonies as sovereign territory, off limits to Sundari expansion, and added Admiral Chen. Immediate liberation of any worlds in your empire that wish independence. We've already made contact with resistance movements on 12 of your subjugated planets. Galactic's expression hardened. You overstep, Admiral. The Sundari Empire does not surrender territory. Then perhaps a demonstration is required, Chen replied, nodding to General Wei. On his command, 10 Prometheus vessels broke formation, positioning themselves around a single unoccupied Sundari scout ship that had been orbiting Mars. Observe, said Admiral Chen. The human vessels activated their primary weapons, concentrated beams of energy that converged on the Sundari scout ship. There was no explosion, no dramatic destruction. Instead, the scout ship simply disintegrated, its molecular bonds severed by the precisely calibrated energy field. In the holographic display, Sovereign Galactic took an involuntary step backward. His upper arms raised in what human intelligence had identified as a gesture of shock. Graviton dissociation technology, Admiral Chen explained calmly. It doesn't destroy matter so much as persuade it to stop being matter. No debris, no radiation, just elementary particles returning to the universe. She leaned forward, her expression unwavering. Now imagine that technology deployed against your entire fleet, Sovereign. Is the conquest of Earth worth the loss of half the Sundari Navy? A series of rapid communications passed between Galactic and his officers, their clicking language too fast for the translation systems to process. Finally, the Sovereign turned back to face the humans. You leave us little choice, Admiral, he said, his voice carefully controlled. The Sundari Empire will withdraw from the Sol system. And the other terms? President Alvarez pressed. Galactic's three eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of intense calculation, according to human intelligence. Earth will be recognized as sovereign territory. As for the other worlds, that will require consultation with the Imperial Council. Then consult, Admiral Chen replied. But know this, Earth is no longer isolated in the galaxy. We've established communication with other species who chafe under Sundari rule. The days of your unchallenged expansion are over. Sovereign Salak's expression was unreadable as he processed this information. Finally, he spoke. The Sundari fleet will begin withdrawal immediately. Expect formal communication from the Imperial Council within one standard galactic week. The transmission ended abruptly. On the holographic display, the Sundari vessels began altering their positions, moving away from Earth's atmosphere in careful defensive formations. The command center erupted in cheers, officers embracing each other as 15 years of tension finally broke. President Alvarez shook Admiral Chen's hand firmly. "You did it, Helena," he said, using her first name for perhaps the first time in their professional relationship. "You saved humanity." Chen shook her head. "Humanity saved itself, Mr. President. Every scientist who worked in secret, every engineer who built our fleet, every intelligence officer who decoded Sundari communications. This was humanity's victory, not mine." As the celebrations continued around them, Admiral Chen and General Wei moved to a quieter corner of the command center, watching the holographic display that showed the Sundari fleet retreating beyond the moon's orbit. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement?" Wei asked quietly. "They don't have much choice," Chen replied. "Their entire strategy relies on technological superiority and the element of surprise. We've taken both away from them." She gestured to another display showing the quantum communications network that now connected Earth with resistance movements on Sundari-controlled worlds. Besides, this was never just about defending Earth. It was about changing the balance of power in the galaxy. Her expression softened slightly. "The Sundari Empire will adapt or it will crumble. Either way, the days of unquestioned Sundari dominance are over." General Wei nodded thoughtfully. "What happens now? Do we reveal everything to the public?" "Gradually," Chen answered. "People will need time to process the fact that we're not alone in the universe and that we've been preparing for this day for 15 years. She turned her gaze to the largest display, which now showed Earth from orbit, the Prometheus vessels visible as they maintained their protective positions. The planet looked peaceful, its blue oceans and swirling white clouds betraying nothing of the momentous events that had just transpired. "For 15 years, we worked in secret, united by a common threat," Admiral Chen said softly. "Now we step onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals. Humanity has earned its place among the stars." Throughout the solar system, the Prometheus fleet maintained its vigilance as the Sundari vessels retreated. On Earth, life continued as normal for most people, unaware that their world had just avoided subjugation, and that humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. In the command center, the countdown clock that had marked the days until the Sundari's return was reset. It now displayed a new message. Day 1 of humanity's galactic era. The journey had just begun.